The movie opens in a diner where two customers, Sam and Gary, are watching a news report on TV about a ruthless serial killer called the Midnight Mangler. Just then, a man named Charlie works inside, and the waitress, Anna, feels so uneasy about the report that she quickly turns off the TV. Later, Anna goes to take Charlie's order, but he creepily begins flirting with her and invites her to join him for a meal. She finds him weird and instantly refuses, so the man awkwardly just asks to see the menu. Afterward, Anna goes to greet another group of customers, a trio of young junkies. They call Anna mom and cruelly make fun of her for being old and still working at the diner. One of the junkies even recognizes her and mocks how she was supposed to be a nurse. But someone knocked her up. A frustrated Anna ignores them and rushes to give the menu to Charlie, who once again makes another failed attempt to flirt with her. After Anna ends her shift, she proceeds to leave, only to find Charlie smoking outside and waiting for her. He once again asks her out on a date, but she refuses and claims her husband is waiting at home. But he knows she is lying since she isn't wearing a ring, so Anna nervously claims she has a boyfriend. She then notices him following her, so she pulls out pepper spray and warns him to stay away. But then Charlie pulls out his gun and demands that she come with him or he'll shoot. Fearing for her life, Anna tearfully says that she has a little girl at home, but he doesn't care and drags her to his old pickup truck. Here, a desperate Anna says she had a bad day and offers to go on a date with him tomorrow. She even chooses the location for the date and he orders her to describe what she's going to wear. Anna describes a seductive dress, and the man appears aroused by her words. And then suddenly, Charlie finds himself inside the diner again. But strangely, he notices the same customers lurking in the corners and the TV blaring the same chilling news about the serial killer. Even stranger, Anna is standing perfectly well and alive. The confused man takes a seat just as Anna comes over for his order. He nervously asks if they've met before, but she doesn't seem to recognize him. Afterward, he approaches another customer named David, who is sitting alone in a corner quietly eating by himself. Charlie tries to strike up a conversation, but the man doesn't respond to anything. Charlie has a feeling he's seen him somewhere before and asks if they've met, but David continues to ignore him. Later, Anna proceeds to leave after completing her shift, where we see Charlie waiting for her again. He strikes up a conversation, and after a brief, awkward chat, he suddenly forces her at gunpoint. The terrified woman pleads, saying she has a little girl, but Charlie states he already knows that. He drags her to his pickup truck and brutally murders her once again. In the next scene, Charlie once again finds himself inside the diner. He begins yelling in confusion, startling everyone there. Charlie becomes convinced they are all deliberately playing some kind of twisted prank on him, so he demands that Anna lift up her shirt. Sam tries to intervene, but Charlie puts out his gun and orders him to stay quiet before aiming at Anna. With no choice, the terrified waitress pulls off her shirt, and Charlie's eyes widen when he notices there is no wound at all. At this point, the three junkies enter the diner, but Charlie states they're closed right when Sam pulls out his own gun and instantly shoots him dead. But once again, time resets and Charlie finds himself in the diner. He screams at Sam for shooting him and hurls curses before storming out in fury. A fed up Charlie rushes to his truck and tries to escape, but then time resets again, throwing him back inside the diner. Panic grips him as he tries again and again to leave, only to be trapped in the same endless loop. At one point, he even shoots Sam dead and flees, but finds himself inside the diner again. Realizing he can't escape, Charlie calms down and begins studying everyone present. His attention is drawn to two nurses and he continues to stare at one of them named Sophie. Charlie then approaches David again and rants about the time loop, asking what he would do in this situation. But David ignores him, so Charlie leaves and briefly blocks Sophie's path as she's coming out of the restroom. Next, he approaches a middle aged couple at the diner and begins bothering them. Charlie gets inappropriately close to the woman and soon discovers the two aren't married. The man becomes angry and stands up, but Charlie shows his gun and orders him to sit down. Charlie realizes they're having an affair, so he tells the man that his wife sent him there to kill him. He quickly clarifies that he was joking and hands them some money for their meal before leaving them alone. Later, Charlie approaches the two nurses and tries to strike up a conversation, but they grow uncomfortable and leave. Charlie exits the diner and deliberately ends the loop this time, only to start another round of chaos. He then approaches Sam and Gary, who are discussing the Midnight Mangler, so Charlie suggests the three of them should find the killer together. The duo find him weird, and Charlie soon follows Sophie as she heads to the bathroom. He steals a knife from the diner and brutally kills the poor woman. But Charlie is stunned to realize he's still here, so he hides the dead body in a garbage cart and proceeds to leave, but he's caught by the janitor. Charlie claims the place is too dirty and he just wanted to help. The two then take the cart outside and the janitor notices it's unusually heavy, right when Charlie shoots him to death and dumps his body in the trash. Seconds later, the second nurse arrives outside looking for Sophie and asks Charlie if he's seen her. He denies it and offers to drive her around to help look for her friend, but she finds him shady and refuses. Upon returning inside, Charlie interrupts the cheating couple's conversation. The man tells him to mind his own business, but then Charlie suddenly stabs the woman's lover in the eyes and violently kills him. This finally grabs everyone's attention, and the nurse rushes to help the bloodied woman, but Charlie points a gun at her and confesses to everyone that he's the Midnight Mangler and planned to kill all of them quietly tonight. But before he can hurt anyone else, the diner's chef sneaks up behind him and smashes his head. Charlie finds himself in the next loop and rants about his bizarre situation to David, who ignores him again. So the psycho now goes on a killing spree, taking out everyone in the diner one by one in brutal ways. Time keeps resetting, and the killer devises inventive ways to murder them and feels unstoppable like a god. However, after countless murders, he eventually grows weary and wishes the nightmare would end. At one point, Charlie gets extremely hungry, so he asks Anna for eggs and bacon, but she reveals they don't serve breakfast at this time, which makes him angry since he knows there are eggs in the fridge. Charlie asks the chef to make an omelette, but the big man refuses and tells him to go back inside to his stable. Frustrated, Charlie tries to attack, but the chef easily throws him to the floor. Charlie pulls out his gun, but the chef doesn't even flinch. Charlie decides to fight him fairly, but the chef easily kills him. In the next loop, Charlie tells David how he tried several ways to kill the chef but failed, as if the man was some kind of secret agent. Determined, Charlie demands the chef make an omelette again. The chef refuses and they fight. Dies again. Charlie goes through countless loops trying every tactic to kill the chef, but the man defeats him every single time. At one point, Charlie is tired of fighting, so he disregards the idea of a fair fight and brutally shoots the chef to death. He then grabs some eggs from the fridge and finally makes the omelette he craved. After eating, he puts the gun to his head and blows his brains out, hoping the loop will end. Unfortunately, he finds himself back inside the diner. But this time, something is different. He notices an old man who isn't supposed to be there. Moments later, the man disappears, leaving Charlie confused. Exhausted, the psycho sleeps on the table despite Anna's request that he leave. He is eventually woken by two officers who were called by the worried waitress. Charlie tries to resist arrest, though he knows he'll never make it to the station. Time resets again. Drained and defeated, Charlie collapses in front of David when the bald man finally speaks for the first time. David says he's disappointed in Charlie for giving up so easily. He mentions infamous serial killers like Subraj, Dahmer, and Bundy and asks what they would do. He even asks Charlie what his father would do, but the psycho snaps and warns him not to talk about the stat. David calls him a worthless piece of trash and urges him to take action instead of whining. Weirdly motivated, Charlie's adrenaline surges and he goes on another killing spree, murdering everyone in the diner. Only Anna remains. Charlie takes her aside and tells him he's tired of the loop because he can't sleep or go home. He thinks she is the special one who must be killed for the loop to end. Anna begs for mercy, saying she has a daughter, but the psychopath ignores her and stabs her to death. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. He resets again. The broken man staggers to his truck and cries, overwhelmed by the endless cycle. The loop restarts, and Charlie suddenly notices a priest sitting calmly in the diner. Hopeful, he approaches him. The priest asks what he learned, and Charlie admits he just wants to go home. Meanwhile, David gestures to Charlie not to speak with him. Charlie confesses he has done many bad things, but the priest tells him he still has the power to choose his destiny. The psychopath breaks down and begs for salvation, crying that he can't live like this anymore. The priest grants him forgiveness. When Charlie asks what he must do now, the priest simply says, "Start over." The loop resets again. This time, Charlie finally acts like a decent human being. He notices the junkie is about to enter and confronts them. He shows them his gun, lectures them, and warns the girl not to hang out with the two idiots. After sending them away, he offers to arrange a ride for her, but she refuses. Back inside, Anna arrives to take his order and he behaves politely. He approaches the two nurses and thanks them for their service, even offering to pay for their pies. They are genuinely touched. Then Charlie approaches the adulterous couple and tells them how his father abused his mother and cheated frequently. His mother then took out her rage on the children, continuing the cycle of abuse. Charlie asks them to think about their children so they won't suffer for their mistakes. Next, Charlie notices David isn't in the diner this time, so he enjoys his pie alone. He joins Sam and Gary for drinks, sharing laughter and pleasant conversation. After Anna's shift ends, she notices David outside and smokes with him. They talk about the stars, and Anna reveals her daughter Amy is 10 and fascinated by astronomy. Charlie becomes a gentleman and offers to walk her to her car. Impressed, Anna moves closer and ends up kissing him. They both get into his truck to have some fun, and Charlie leaves his gun outside. Nervous, he hesitates, but Anna calms him down. The two begin to make out, but in a shocking twist, Charlie suddenly stabs her. In the next scene, the loop doesn't start. Charlie wakes up in a lab where he notices doctors around him, and one of them is the priest. The man introduces himself as Dr. Lovato. With him is Dr. Stephens, head of the facility called Neuroscape. Then there's Dr. Amy, and Charlie is stunned to discover she looks exactly like Anna. He yells that she was also in the simulation, but she assures him she isn't Anna, and he must have seen her face before entering the simulation. Charlie doesn't believe her and accuses Amy of setting him up and throwing herself at him, but she states it was all his choice. At this point, we learn Charlie has been part of an experimental rehabilitation program. Murderers are placed in simulations to confront their worst crimes until they develop genuine remorse. If they pass, they might have their charges dismissed, but Charlie has failed miserably. He is denied parole and will return to his prison cell. Charlie also sees David, who turns out to be another notorious criminal. Later, Dr. Stephens appears at a press conference claiming they can completely reform the worst criminal minds. A reporter argues that forcing these criminals to relive their crimes repeatedly is cruel and disrespectful to victims. Meanwhile, we see Charlie spiraling into madness in his cell because of the experiment. Dr. Stephens assures reporters the experiment is safe since it isn't real. At the same time, Charlie becomes bloodied and injured, prompting an employee to rush in to help him. The reporter questions the possible side effects, but Dr. Stephens insists that all patients are volunteers and no side effects have been observed. Meanwhile, employees tell Dr. Amy that Charlie hasn't slept in days because he's terrified he'll return to the diner. Amy then cruelly injects him with a sedative and tells him to say hi to her mom, revealing she is actually the daughter of Anna who was murdered by Charlie. The movie ends as Charlie finds himself back at the diner, screaming in terror as he is forced to face the horrors of that night again. And that's where today's twisted story ends. And hey, if you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on the bell icon because we drop the craziest, most addictive movie recaps every week.